Welcome back to another episode of Rooted and Restored. My name's Lisa Rowe, and I'm here with a guest you've met before, my husband, Rob Rowe. He joined us for our fatherhood conversation, and in that conversation, he touched a little bit on our marriage. And in doing that, it kind of sparked some curiosity in me and what it might look like to invite him back to a different conversation. And so today we're embarking on a two-part series about our marriage, maybe some things that you might relate to if you're in a relationship yourself or you're considering a relationship, or maybe you're just curious about what happens in relationships. So we're going to kind of change over the conversation. I'll start with asking him questions and then he'll respond, and then he'll have the microphone and he'll ask me questions and he'll respond. So sit back, get curious with us, and enjoy the conversation.
Okay, so I answered all your questions, and now I'm going to ask you these questions. Okay, so for you, what's been the hardest part of marriage for you and why?
It's a big question. I think the hardest part for me, and you've called me this before, is the power chick thing for me. I think that for most of my life before you, I had to take care of myself. I had to have everything laid out. I had to be the only one that really knew what was going on. There was a lot of places in my life that I didn't feel very safe. And so I brought all of that with me into our marriage, and I really struggled to surrender that control and trust our relationship, but more importantly, trust myself, because I never had like that muscle built for me. I never knew my worth or value, and I thought my worth and value came from controlling things, and that left little room for our relationship to have emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, any sort of ability for you to be who you want to be. And that's, yeah, I think that's the best way to respond to that.
Mm. Yeah, but let's be honest with that particular answer. Some of that stuff, when I was coming at you with that at different times, some of that was my own self being unhealthy and magnifying one of your weaknesses.
Mm.
Right? So easy to go after our partners because we know them really well and all their ticks. So like that might not have been your strength. And then when I'm dealing with my own stuff and maybe you're coming at me about that stuff, then I'm going back and saying, you know, yeah, you just got to control everything.
Well, yeah, I think it was a trigger because there were some times where you weren't showing up that I felt like I needed to step into places that belonged to you. So I really appreciate that you would take that ownership today. And it did confuse me as I was trying to grow and heal from all of my codependency, and I still am. And so, yeah, there was a lot that triggered me from previous experiences that I've had. And it's really been nourishing to me to see a different way now that our marriage has healed and is continuing to grow in a different direction.
Okay, so how has the marriage changed you?
Ah. Well, I think it softened me. I don't think I ever saw a woman be really soft in marriage. I don't think I ever had an example of what it looked like to really feel safe in relationship. So there's a very calm place inside of me now that didn't exist before maybe 3-4 years ago. There's a version of me that can hold space for you, and I think the ways that I was created to hold space for you that I didn't know existed because I never saw it modeled. I can recall experiences where I took the kids all the way on vacation with me to a conference one time, and I told you that was like my first pivotal moment of going, I'm never doing that again. I put way too much pressure on myself. I put our family in danger. We slept in a car that night because we were in a very dangerous Airbnb. There were so many things that I needed your protection, and I was just beginning to learn what it looked like to surrender that control. And that was like a huge wake up call for me to realize who you are to me and what you represent. And it's really taught me that I don't always have to have that power chick mentality or the male, if you want to call it, like stereotypical roles.
Hmm. Okay, well, that goes kind of into this question: what helps you feel safe and emotionally connected?
Yeah. And for somebody that's watching that just saw like the previous conversation that we had where you showed up in a really big way, that's what helps me feel so connected, is when you are present, where you're emotionally available for me, where you're honest, and those kinds of things are really important to me. But I think even before that, it starts with me. Like, I need to know that I love myself and I can connect to myself so that I can really appreciate that place inside of you. And you always hear me say it, and I think sometimes it's frustrating to you, but like, taking care of me today is such a priority. And by taking care of me, it allows me to be available for all the ways in which you want to take care of me.
Right, what you do, right? I think you do that more than, like, you make sure that you do that on a daily basis. Between yoga, working out first thing in the morning, or going to yoga, or whatever that looks like, you do that on a normal basis. Um, Me, not so much. I got to get better at that, but that's a whole nother topic down the road. Okay, next question. Um, when I miss it or check out emotionally, what does that bring up for you?
Yeah, we already touched on that, but it is like wildly a trigger from my childhood. Uh, it's so interesting how we hear the statistics that we're likely going to marry one of our parents. And although you're not all the things that my dad was, there's a lot of qualities that you carry, good and bad, that remind me of him. And so when you aren't showing up emotionally, that little girl inside of me that is still healing can feel that in a deep way. We just talked about this. It's funny when you had eaten all the meatballs the other night and didn't leave me any. Not because of any other reason other than there's not a lot of meatballs. but but I told you after we had a conversation, it really triggered that part of me that felt like I wasn't important, or I wasn't enough to think about. And I know that's not what it meant, but initially that's what it felt like.
Yeah, but so, like, that's the difference between, like, men and women, right? So, like, you go, oh, I'm not paying attention to whether or not you need something, and guys are just like black and white. I go like this: okay, Lisa's not home, it's 8 o'clock at night, she doesn't even eat most of the stuff that we eat here, she eats salads all the time, there's not many meatballs, and they're super tiny, and it looks like everybody in this house is ate, and she's coming home and she's already eaten probably, and she's probably gonna eat a salad anyway. So I only eat like 3/4 of them, and then you trip.
I did.
But I didn't even say anything about it. I just kind of let you go
Yeah.
until you calmed down, and then I threw my little jab in there and said, "How often do you actually really eat here with what we're eating?"
And it all made sense.
Right.
But it also took our awareness of it, right? Because we did joke about it, but I did understand after it triggered me what had happened in that moment. So it was cool. But I didn't have those tools, at the beginning of our marriage to be able to tell you. We would have probably fought for 3 days about that.
Well, and then, I mean, on the flip side of it, I probably would have lost my flipping mind.
Yes.
I didn't lose my mind at first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and let's just make sure, like, I mean, I know, like, I didn't make this question, okay?
Okay.
Because this question isn't this isn't really comfortable for me. So I just need everybody to know I didn't make this question.
Okay.
What surprised you about the way you love me?
What surprised me about the way I love you? Why does that make you uncomfortable?
I don't know, but I didn't make these questions, so I'm just letting people know that.
Is it hard for you to hear that I love you?
No, I don't know. It says, why are you surprised? I don't know. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm not answering the question.
The therapist in me is curious. Uh, what surprised
You
me?
see what I deal with. You see, these
Mhm.
people see what I deal with.
So, kind of to,
Do you
yes,
know what I'm saying?
hold space for
She
that.
just said that my therapist wants to say something. So just so everybody knows, like on a normal basis, I have to make sure that I don't hit her therapy box.
You just did, though.
Right.
Yes. And I think it's important, maybe, like, to interject this comment here is like, when you ask me open ended questions like this and get curious about me, I am like so ignited by that. And so I just think that's important for, because this isn't your normal space to ask me questions like this. You have to be intentional, but it's so nice to be seen and heard by you and known by you. So to answer that question, what surprises me, I think, Rob, like, I get to see the softer sides of you, but I know I have to show up softer too. And so these are parts of people that I've never really been able to touch because I wasn't soft enough to be available to see their soft spaces. And so watching you parent our children, watching you love me through a lot of the crazy things that I've had to walk through or got to walk through, watching you walk through some of the hard things in your life. And I think the evolution of you has really shown me a love that I didn't know existed in the world, and that really has surprised me at the level of love that I can connect to. It feels like I've like entangled that, but I think if I had to shorten my response, it's that our relationship has created such safety and security because of the decisions we've made to prioritize our marriage that I feel like I love in a way I never knew existed.
Got it. Yeah, I mean that. I think the part that you're talking about is when you put in work towards it, right? When you put in work for somebody to make your relationship better, then it grows both of you. I mean, you're growing yourself, but you're actually doing that to make the relationship better.
Mm-hmm.
So your partner might benefit from watching you do some of those things.
Mm-hmm. You've allowed me to practice things that I never understood: vulnerability, transparency, honesty. And then you've received them, and it's not always been perfect, but you've been my best friend through that process that can reflect back to me that I am growing, that I am valuable, that I am important. And that's been really healing for me.
Yeah. Well, from a man's perspective, I think that some of that stuff has got to, it's internal, men don't like to like check their ego. You gotta drop your ego with a marriage situation because it doesn't work. You gotta become humble about what your weaknesses are because we all have them. So if you don't do that, you can't continue to grow in your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's something that we worked on. I know that's the journey that I had to go through. Um, and I know that it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting that you would say that because so often in my office, when I'm doing therapy with couples, it's the woman that initiates therapy, and the men come kind of secondary, maybe because they feel like they're losing their marriage or that sort of thing. And so, to your point, when a man initiates it, and sometimes the reason they're initiating it is because they're so fearful, but when they're in a place like you're saying, they're humble, they're like, I know something's broken, I need help. There's something really attractive about that for the partner, and I'm speaking about our marriage. For me, when you've taken that role and said, hey, like, let's move in this direction, or let me connect with you, or like you said in your question and answers, that like, I'm going to initiate a hug even though that's not your first form of connection.
Yeah, and I mean all the stuff that we're talking about right now, I didn't just get there with it, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think when you said like men, like sometimes they don't want to go to the therapy or whatever it may be, because maybe they feel like it's weak, or I don't know. I think that the people in general are getting away from that more and more, right? They're going more to taking advantage of what can help them, because we live in a world that's so chaotic at times and doesn't make sense sometimes and is really flat out nasty at times.
Yeah.
So, where's your tools for all that?
Mm-hmm.
And you know this, I go to therapy on my own.
Mm-hmm.
That has nothing to do with you. Like, I have my own people, and I look at it as like it's tools, it's weapons to combat myself doing stuff that doesn't work. So when I get into a bad headspace or whatever that may be, then I use the people that are smarter than me at what they do. You know, if I got a headspace problem, I'm not going to go call a coach buddy of mine,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm calling somebody that this is their jam. This is what they do every day. And I'll throw out a couple of nuggets, and then they'll turn around and say to me, you know, try this, this, and this. I mean, I had somebody reach out to me today. One of my therapy people reached out to me today and said, listen, what were your three best things yesterday that you did? What are the three things that you're going to do today? And how did those things make you better? She dropped it to me out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this person I've had a relationship with for quite a long time, working with me. But everybody's got to have people in their corner.
Mm-hmm.
And professional people, are very, very valuable. And I have lots of those people that I
And
work
to
with.
the point about that attractiveness, like I think that it, like even just you sharing that, the way in which you initiate all of those things, like we talk about like sex starts way before the bedroom. Like those are the kinds of things that are super like sexy to me, outside of like some of the more traditional things. But like that to me is so attractive.
Well, that's good. Oh, jeez. Okay, next question. Um, what do you wish more wives gave themselves permission to do or feel in marriage?
Mm. I counsel a lot of wives who feel like they have to abandon themselves at the sake of their husbands or their children. And I wish more wives knew that that is actually a major detriment to the future of their marriage and the future of their children. That without them being their best selves, there's no way that there's going to be a best marriage or a best parenting journey. And I think about the metaphor of, like the oxygen coming down from the airplane, like you have to suck it first before you give it to anybody else. But I think there's a lot of misconception around what it looks like to be selfish versus what it looks like to be caring for yourself.
Yeah, I think they're two different things. I mean, caring for yourself, like listening to you say that. Okay, so caring for yourself, working out, yoga, mental stuff, working with therapists, that brings fuel to the marriage,
Yeah.
right? So it brings juice. And then selfishness, I'm going to go and hang out with my boys all day for the next 2 days. I'm going to go to the bar. I'm going to go on vacation with my girlfriends. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be secretive, blah, blah, blah. Sucking life out. And then people wonder why they get divorced.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck with that. It's going to catch up at some point.
Truly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, not to say that none of that stuff's not crept into us, all that stuff. But my point is, it is what you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So there goes into the next question. How do you find your independence? Balancing your independence with being in a marriage partnership.
I think that really starts with knowing yourself and knowing who you are, what you love, and not being willing to sacrifice those? Can you collaborate or can you compromise? Absolutely. But if you don't know yourself, if you don't know what you love, if you don't know who you are, how you tick, if you don't understand those things, it's hard to request those things in a relationship. And I think that's what happened to me at the beginning of our relationship, as I was very much just beginning the journey of who I am. I didn't really know that because for so long I had been abandoning myself for everybody else. So you've watched, had to, got to watch me kind of learn who I am. And that's been hard at sometimes because you're like, wait a second, like, why are you doing this now? Or why is this shifting now? And things move around. And I've been on this journey of like trying to find myself. And so um, I think it starts, hopefully, somebody listening, if they're not in a relationship, it starts now. But if somebody's in a relationship, it still starts now, but it requires tons of communication and tons of help. Yeah, of who are you really? And that independence then gets shaped because you communicate it. You know, what we value grows, but also what I if I don't value myself, you're not going to value me because I teach you how I want to be treated. And I don't think at the beginning of our marriage you would have been able to say a lot of the things you said about what I love or what I don't love and that sort of thing. It's really been a process of learning those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but throughout the whole process, you would have to say that you've always been trying to make sure you're taking care of your own independence. I would say from the early on time that I knew you, you tried to work on that. And you've gotten better at it for yourself as it's gone on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what's one practice that's kept our marriage growing even in tough seasons?
Ooh, that's good. I think that we have both decided to continue to individually grow. I think that that's probably the number one thing. And then as a result of our individual growth, we've tried to grow together. And it's required a lot of communication. It's required a lot of coming back to the table and revisiting things. It's required a lot of like boundaries, I feel like, um, intentionality. And then I think acceptance feels right too, that I can't change you and you can't change me. But if I want to change to be better in our marriage and you want to change to be better in our marriage, like that's the bridge that will cultivate excellence.
Yeah, and like I'm just talking for me in this aspect, when you say that, when you want to be better yourself, right? Like the best version of yourself and what that looks like for you has got really nothing to do with the other person.
Mm-hmm.
There's battles and wars that I fight that you don't even know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we talk about it, but on a daily basis, there's stuff that we both have that's individual. And then if you decide that you want to stop growing or moving or doing something towards that getting better, then your partner can end up suffering the consequence.
Yeah.
If I get into bad thought processes, it ends up falling out on you.
Mm-hmm. And there used to be a time where I would absorb it, and now I've learned to say like, hey, we're all responsible for our own emotional baggage. Like that isn't mine to carry. I might ask you, how can I support you, but I can't carry that for you, just like you can't carry mine. It's not
Right.
meant.
And I might say something like, thanks for your therapeutic talk. Right.
Yeah.
And then I'll just storm out or something and then figure it out on my own.
Which is what it's important to do.
Basically, if you weren't therapy, if it wasn't a therapeutic response, it would be something like, take that and take that away from me.
Mm-hmm.
But you say it in a nice way and wrap it up in a package and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I still get mad. And then I just walk away and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one more question here. So, what kind of legacy do you hope our marriage leaves behind?
Ooh, that's loaded. I hope that we have shifted the tide in terms of what our generational legacy has left us. Both of us come from divorce. Both of us have seen parents remarry. Both of us have experienced what it felt like to live in separate homes, go through some of that experience. Our children, some of them are already experiencing that. And my prayer is that our marriage continues to show them what it looks like to, number one, fight for your own value, but also fight for what you value. And the things that you value can often include marriage. And for us, that's what it is. And so I pray that our legacy leaves a belief in our children's hearts that they need to be the best versions of themselves so that they can be the best versions for their partner, so that they select partners that are the best versions of themselves so that they can have healthy marriage, and that they learn to fight through the hard things, that we are better together when we've selected a partner that's best for us, and that we're the best versions of ourselves, that they continue to help us grow. I hope it also leaves a financial legacy for them because, I've known what it is to be single, and I hope that our legacy brings about some more foundation for them in that category. I pray that they understand that a marriage can't be connected without a higher power, God, for us, but just that spirituality is a big component of that. I think those are the main things. Family first, always.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's a hard question, right? It's not the easiest question in the world, but I mean, I think the hope would be that our kids don't, at least on my end of the fence, it's that all of our kids that don't have to go through some of the things that I had to go through, or I put myself in situations that I don't want them to go through. And I mean, I know this, we don't really hide it from our kids. Like, I go right at telling them, hey, this is what it is, this is where you're going, this is how it's going to happen if you stay doing this. If you decide not to do that, this is what the things that can come with it, right? And we lay it out on the table. And I don't want them to go through some of that stuff. And I think every parent wants their kids to be better than where they were at. Doesn't always work out that way. But you got to constantly be giving them information and giving them the how and the why and all of it.
Yeah. One thing's for sure is that there were many times in our marriage where I thought leaving was the best answer. And I have since grown to understand that the grass is not greener, and that doing the hard work inside of myself, which then led to being able to do hard work with you, what has become the most fruitful thing that I've ever done. And I'm just so grateful that you have been on the same journey and been willing to do that too, because it's really made for a different offering that I would have never expected for my future.
Yeah. I mean, it's just learning different things. I always ran. But there's a better way, right? And of course your kids are going to benefit from that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. If anything stuck with you today, don't leave it there. Journal about it, share about it, talk to somebody about it. These are important conversations. Maybe some of the questions today sparked intrigue inside of you. Ask your partner them tonight. Don't leave this just here in your heart. They're meant for all the places and spaces that live inside of you. Thank you for joining us. Like, share, pass it, pay it forward. We're so grateful you joined us.